I don't need to do it. What's up, guys? How you guys doing? We are back with another Talking Dead Guy episode, and I have with me Bianca, who is on the other side because I mirror my camera and forget about that every time. And with us, we have the lovely and talented Liana Kersner. How you doing today, Liana?
I am okay. You will see my supervisor, Zelda, my cat, in the background. So if you see her while we're recording this suddenly going for the shelf behind her, she's had a grudge for about 2 weeks against my Solomon Grundy hero click. So every so often she goes for it, and I'm like, stop it. And she's like,
so it was born on a Monday, knocked off
Monday.
the shelf on a Tuesday.
Yeah.
Shoot off my head on a Wednesday.
Yeah. Got catnip on a Thursday. I am among my people here.
Well, we have Liana with us today to discuss probably a multitude of things, I would imagine, if I'm going to try to predict the future here. But I know that you two had discussed something. It was thrown at me very lightly, but I've had a very strange couple of days. That you guys had discussed a pretty interesting topic. And it sounded quite interesting to me, and I think a lot of people could relate with that. And there's something about a book and a book release that I would also like to talk about at some point before we start rambling on and on about some other things. So I say, why don't you tell us a little bit about that? Because I'm sure quite a few people that are here with me are familiar with you. I'm sure they know who you are.
Right. They don't know about the things I do off the internet, and this is one of them. One of the things I do is artist. I'm so bad at defining what I do because everything has a word, has a charge to it that isn't me. But artist mentor, artist coach, basically, I work with artists to help them have a less painful ride than I did. And I wrote the foreword of a book called Mecha Jesus and Other Stories by an absolutely fabulous Canadian Asian author called Derwin Mack. Yes, I said Mecha Jesus. It's a story about it's based on a real place in Japan that does the passion in the way only the Japanese can. And so he came up with this idea of a robot that is a Shinto shrine to a version of Jesus. And because this robot thinks he's Jesus, he starts doing Jesus-like things. And I will not spoil the rest of the story, but I originally published this story in an anthology I edited called Wrestling with Gods. It was an anthology of religion and science fiction and fantasy. And there it is. Mecha Jesus is in the middle. The fantastic Lar D'Souza did the art for this. He did me a huge favor. Lar is freaking amazing. You'll know him from Looking for Group, among other things. He's a really great comic book artist. And then Song W. Erison, my co-host on Two Women Talking, did the Hooters waitress with the steak. You can imagine what that story is about. And then Mary Jess, my co-dev on Song of Sparkle Muffin, the video game I'm making, did the tortured mad ballet dancer for a story called The Faun and the Sylvid. And we did this kind of mashup image to show you a cross section of what's in this short story anthology. And it doesn't, it only scratches the surface of the crazy. I showed you guys off air the old slasher alien invasion. It came from our chicken wings. There are some very serious stories in it. There is an Eldritch horror story that is very different in tone than some of the others. There's some historical fiction, very, very poignant historical fiction. The last story in the anthology is very gut-wrenching, involving a Jewish architect, I believe, before World War II. No, it's not religious. It's all across the board.
That's what I would say. It's sort of
the thing that is great about Derwin is that he just follows the story. So he'll see something interesting and go, this is an interesting beginning of the story. I mean, unless Hooters is your church, cool. I'm good with that. Hooters could be some people's church. It could be all the rituals involving church and orange shorts. But yeah, it's more culture. And I think that the fact that he's not afraid to shy away from religion. He treats it like everything else, is what I really like, because so many of us have these taboos that we just won't touch. And I think in art, it's
True.
bad. I am making a video game about a fairy tale princess who saves a fairy tale kingdom with love, kindness, and friendship. That's not me at all. And, I fell into it exploring the whole, much maligned. Her superpower is she gets captured and thrown in a tower a lot, a lot. And playing on that's our respawn mechanic is she doesn't get killed. She gets captured and put in a tower because that's what she does. Princess Sparkle Muffin is from my boss fight series. And then she originally came in my Lady Bits series, which is about women in gaming. So obviously Derwin and I share if I poke this, what happens? Oh, people get a little mad. That's weird kind of thing. So it is.
That's art. Honestly, that is art.
Yeah, and I think the best place for a creator is if you're a little bit scared. So it's fun, it's challenging. He's a great guy. When I wrote the forward, I asked people on my writing group, what does a book forward that everybody skips inform? Like, what does it do? And they said, I want to know something about the author. And so I told the story of going to see the this ballet. I won't get into the details because nobody knows. It was very, very pretentious, but we both loved it. It was the final performance of a dancer who'd performed Romeo and Juliet for years and years and years. And he was finally retiring in I think he was 52, still danced great. But then we went across the street to the place that everybody goes after the National Ballet of Canada. And it had converted into a vegan sushi place. And they had watermelon sushi on the menu. And we both kind of looked at each other. And the whole thing about this was that he couldn't get a date to go to the ballet. He couldn't find a woman to see Romeo and Juliet with him. Welcome to Toronto, right? It's just such a nutshell thing. But so we went on like fake. We're going to do all the things you do on a date, except we're not dating. And so we had this watermelon sushi. And it became this ridiculously expensive, pretentious science experiment. And it was supposed to be high culture and, all the stuff. But we were laughing at all of it and dissecting the food. And what they do with watermelon sushi is they take the watermelon, they dehydrate it, so it's chewy. They pump it full of like things that people put on it was kind of a hickory, because it's supposed to be salmon, right? It's supposed to be spicy salmon or something like that. Anyway, it was chewy and it tasted kind of like sushi, but we were just so enthralled by all the extra steps to make a thing into something it's not.
I didn't even know that when I eat salmon sushi, I don't even notice the hickory taste. I just
it's not. It's not. It's just what people associate, because smoked salmon. And it's like, all right. And then they had dragon fruit. And of course, there's no protein in any of this. And I am pescatarian. So my diet's wild. And I think that's part of the reason I'm interested in ritual. Also, I spent most of my young life being told I was going to hell for one reason or another. So I just sort of embraced it.
I'm sorry for laughing. Inappropriate response number one for the
No, I like it when people laugh, because it started in the 3rd grade. And near the school I was going, there was I have really good friends who are evangelicals right now. It's one of those mega churches, the evangelical mega churches. And they were big on the end times and all that stuff. And so they started
to the right people.
Yeah, they started just telling me that I was going to hell because I had pale spotted skin like Miriam. And I'm like, Miriam, Moses' sister? Like, what? There was this whole Snow White Miriam thing. I'm like, I've never heard that fairy tale. And it really freaked me out at first because, I mean, kids use this as an excuse to come up with me in the hallway with a fake knife with a retractable blade and would act like they were stabbing me in the ribs. And it's terrifying when you're 9.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
I feel like
Terrifying when you're an
I feel
adult.
terrified at 28.
yeah.
Especially
So-
if you don't know if it's retractable.
This is Liana's origin story of why I am the person I am today, who has no you-know-whats to give. But it went on, and by the time I was in high school, do you know what chick tracks are? The Jack
No.
Chick did these really bizarre comic books with his own
Yes,
little spin on
yes, I know
I
what you're
have
talking
a
about.
few, I
So
believe.
Sodom
Weird
and
religious.
Gomorrah are bikers, and they used to hand them out, and we started collecting these things like baseball cards. So collect and trade. So at first, they thought, oh, these people are so excited. Like, give me 4. Give me 4 so you're going to hells,
I don't have that one.
Oh, and so we'd all get them, and then we'd trade them when you try to complete the set. I was at a comic book convention. I don't remember if it was San Diego Comic-Con or what, but I bought
Phoenix knows.
the complete set. Now, eventually, of course, these proselytizers realized what we were up to and started shunning us. I thought you were a loving God, right? I mean, it's gone from there. So this is why I edited
Oh.
a story in science fiction and fantasy and religion called Wrestling with Gods. Of course, Israel, that's what it means. And that's my religion. That's a mood right now. But yeah, it went from there. And the whole idea was to challenge stories of faith from within the faith. So none of these, look at this strange and peculiar people, right? Apologies to Mormons. But from the inside, how do people interact with faith? How do people question and struggle with faith? Because to me, struggling against the things you believe is the point, not only of art, but just being a not bad person.
Yeah.
We constantly have to question what we believe and why we do the things we do. And I definitely think that Mecha Jesus and other stories. We also got a grant from the Toronto Arts Council to spend some money on this. So yay, Toronto lit up. There, I mentioned it. Now they're happy. Hashtag Toronto lit up. There, I have to say that in everything I do. It's a grant requirement. So yeah. No, check out Chick Tracks if you have not seen them, chat. It's
They are entertaining. I
Apparently
will say
people
that.
have been saying, like, they would describe to me the stuff they would read, and I would say, I mean, for us, we got it, we would read them, get them gifted to us like every like Halloween. But like it was never how people described to me. It just seems normal. I even remember one story. Shoot, I forgot what happened. It's the person ended up doing something bad.
You
And then
would
they
if you saw them
apologized.
too.
They went to
I
heaven,
promise.
and I'm like, okay, like that seems normal compared to what everybody else's were.
yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know if maybe they just picked specifically what kind to put at those parties. I don't know.
Yeah,
We'd find them at our church all the time. We'd find like stacks of them behind like where the pulpit was
because
we'd
they
get up
send
there and
them,
play
right?
with
Yeah.
them. Yeah.
Yeah.
You went to the same church. You've seen them, I promise.
Black Phoenix was correct in the citation for the Snow White Miriam story. So props to him. A lot of you, if you follow any internet memes, you have probably seen a rewritten Chick Track. It's that old comics with an X, ink, no color style, and it's always someone looking like Robert Crumb tortured about something, and so they've rewritten the. My favorite one is still the biker gang Sodom and Gomorrah Chick Track.
Yeah. I remember that one specifically.
Yeah.
I remember the prostitute one. I remember that one.
Yeah, but for some odd reason, these sinners of Sodom and Gomorrah were 70s style bikers.
Makes sense. I mean, it doesn't, but whatever.
Yeah,
they pass those to kids. Those ones seem weird.
When people wonder why I work mainly in the mental health space,
business is booming.
Yeah, hence the it's not therapy. This is not a description of this podcast of my name. That's my podcast and radio show. It's called It's Not Therapy. It's like mental health. There we go. There. talks.
I enjoy It's Not Therapy. My sister
told
finally
you.
subscribed to it, and I'm like, oh, you're so
Awesome.
late, bro.
Yeah, she's got a lot of catch up. Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. I'm reading a lot of New Testament these days, which is unusual for me. I'm like, okay, I finally better figure it out. To me, it's Jesus hanging with the nerds and the freaks and geeks and telling people, hey, don't pick on them. And I keep thinking, am I doing this wrong? Because this is not how it's been advertised to me.
It's never been advertised that way.
No,
Never.
but that's what's
But
in
I'm
the
like,
book.
guys, the Bible says something different. But
Yeah.
I would be considered the weirdo, and I don't even read it that much. But I'm talking to people who claim to read it all the time, and I'm like, then why do we have different interpretations of it?
It was
Well, it
funny.
is written that way. It is purposefully written in kind of
Also,
poetic
depending
and
on the
prophetic
religion, like
ways.
you'll have commas put in different places, so
Yeah.
the sentence would be completely different to one religion, and I'm like, so
Yeah.
weird.
It's like
Well,
talking to Yoda, like
well, in Judaism, we have this whole contextual read thing, so you're not allowed to pull something. Because what
oh,
comes before and what comes after and what order it comes
I like that.
all matter. And so you get to the New Testament and people pulling random quotes out. It's like, I become Edvard Munch's The Scream, right? It's like, I don't know how to read this book because of Has Been Hotel. My Catholic
Did
friends,
Tarantino edit this? You know what I'm saying? Like, what's happening here?
my Catholic friends have been trying to explain Has Been Hotel to me because the only character that makes sense is Alistair. For me, I don't know if you've seen the show. It's great. It's very
I
funny
finally
and it's
finished
very
it.
fun. Yeah, but okay.
Finbar.
Hey, hi, Finbar. But it now makes a bit more sense to me than it did. But I'm still, how when you speak a second language, you translate it into your first language until Canada, French and English. But yeah, it's like, okay, so Adam's jerk for reasons. Really? I mean, not even to like prop up a shaky table. Religion was invented when the first con met. Okay, cool. Met the first fool. But who was who?
Oh yeah.
The chicken or the egg?
Do you guys watch Good Omens? That's an awesome show.
I seen
I've
some
heard of it.
clips and it got me interested. I wasn't that interested at first, but then after a few clips that I watched, I was like, I kind of like the dynamic that they're going here. There's several dynamics that they're going with here, and I think I might enjoy that show.
The first season is one of the better Terry Pratchett adaptations out there, which makes me really happy and makes me hope that we'll get better stuff in future. If you don't read Terry Pratchett, read Terry Pratchett. Start with Small Gods.
Okay.
I didn't expect this to be so religion oriented. I apologize.
It's okay. No, I figured that's why I didn't want to peg it with anything, but conversation happens naturally. So I figured I would let it flow, and it's all related. It's all relative, to be honest.
There was a pretty major paper that dropped recently about religious trauma and how, I don't remember if it was 1 in 3 or 1 in 4 Americans will suffer from religious trauma in their lives, like 1 in 3. Think about that. So, I mean, because my sort of specialties are trauma and neurodivergency and the peer counseling work. And then, I do a smattering of stuff in, a smattering of stuff in It's Not Therapy. What I try to do with the mental health stuff is take the research and then take people's stories and weave them together in a way that's, because a lot of science reporting you see in like mainstream media, oh God, I said mainstream media, but it's true. It's oversimplified to the point of being wrong. And that's the really unfortunate thing, is that I will see a story and do the deep dive. You have 5-6 links deep trying to find the actual research they're talking about. And they pull one finding that I don't think they're I don't think they're intentionally misleading. I think they don't know how to read academese, because it is very hello. Uh-oh. Blocked ears, no good. But yeah, it's kind of cool to jump between worlds. This is my, Mecha G's is my first foray into book publishing in quite a long time. Like I used to do independent comics. I used to do a lot of prose. Got more into games. Stumbled back into prose. So that that's the reality of doing this stuff. If you have to sort of go where it takes you.
That actually brought me to an interesting subject, because I didn't understand or even realize that there was a thing that religion can cause that.
Oh yeah.
I didn't even know that. I kind of just was soaking that in. You said that, I was like, man, there was a period where I was having nightmares, like terrible lucid dreams about the end of the world and all this stuff, because that's the kind of church I went to. Demons under doilies, everything's a demon, and you're going to burn in hell for eternity. And that's not how you bring somebody, especially a young person, to a religion. You're supposed to teach and teach understanding and compassion, not.
Yeah.
You're gonna burn for that child. What are you talking about?
Shame, not just guilt, but shame is one of the most complicated human emotions. And as a culture, we're terrible at dealing with it. It's don't show anybody, hide it. I describe it as that mystery tinfoil in the back of your refrigerator. You wrap something up at the holidays at some point and you stick it in the back, and it's been there a while. And after a while, you're afraid to open the tinfoil. And you're afraid to even touch it because that moving it might jar the smell. And I mean, that's shame, right? That tinfoil in the back of your fridge, you're afraid to touch because you're just afraid the minute you move it, it's going to get everywhere and it's going to smell bad and it's going to be awful. And the more you sit on it, the more embedded it gets. And when a lot of religious trauma is tied up with other types of trauma as well, but some of it is just straight up you are going to hell. And that idea that you are inherently tainted and nothing you do can change that is catastrophic for a lot of people. And it does impact the other stories you tell yourself. Like I have these top 10 phrases on It's Not Therapy, and one is be the hero of your own story and not anyone else's. And narratives are powerful. All of cognitive behavioral therapy is narratives. Now, with trauma, it becomes more complex because his first name is Larry Satan. I like that. But when it comes to trauma, you're not dealing with delusion. You're not dealing with disordered thinking. You're dealing with when you say to the person, what's the worst that can happen? They're like, I can tell you, and people, it's not so bad. No, it was bad.
It's all relative. It's really all relative.
Lingering in bad relationships is another form of trauma, and it all gets mushed up together. And so when you start unpacking the trauma, we've all had this moment. This is why the game Alan Wake 2 is so brilliant, because he has the loops. They have the loops, right? And so you confront it once and you battle that boss and you think, okay, you're good. I have a handle on this now. And a few years later, it'll bubble up in a completely different context because it's attached. Complex trauma flattens. Everything becomes like one canon event from Spider-Man across the Spider-Verse, right? And so you think you've got it licked, and then it comes up in another way. And that's the despair point, right? Because you're like, I thought I had this. And you did. It's just, I spent years floundering in trauma therapy myself. I was diagnosed with PTSD in 2013. People still like to throw that in my face all the time, but it's okay, because when I started talking about it publicly, I was prepared to have that thrown in my face. And one of the things I do is show people you don't have to be ashamed. The way I talk about it is right now I have PTS. If I don't do the work, if I don't maintain my boundaries, if I don't do what I know I have to do, then it becomes PTSD, because
Becomes a
then I
disorder.
become disordered, right? And
Exactly.
peer counseling's great because we have it for drugs and alcohol, right? We have Alcoholics Anonymous, we have Narcotics Anonymous. That is peer counseling. You're working with people who have been through it, who, instead of giving you a book and saying this, work the steps and the requirements of the structure of therapy, you've got somebody who can honestly look you in the eye and say, I've been where you are, and you can get through it. You can survive, not just survive, but thrive. But
Yeah.
yeah, but the thing that I got really stuck on is they kept giving me the finish line, right? You need closure, right? You need acceptance. You need all these big abstract concepts that you can't find on a map. And what I realized, closure, acceptance, self-worth, healing, those are all byproducts of doing the work every day, every week, every month. Boundaries are fantastic, Toxicus. I swear by boundaries, you waste less time on bad people. And that was one shift.
And
That
there
was
it
a
is.
shift in the narrative. And I actually pull it from, I don't know if either of you played Dragon Age Origins, but there's
No,
this
no.
religion, the Kunari, and they're sort of like very radical. And so whenever somebody breaks away and becomes Tal Vashoth, they don't count it, because any follower of the Kyun would not leave. So you never lose a follower of Kyun. And I'm like, I'm going to start treating friendships like that, because if somebody's going to pull crap and do bad stuff and break the bond, break the trust, well, were they ever really my friend? Maybe not. So maybe nothing is lost. And so that, I mean, is it true? It's completely unprovable. It's an aphorism, right? Is it a more productive story to tell myself that, oh my God, I lose friends, everyone always abandons me, I can't do this? It's that, yeah, that's in Dragon Age. Yeah, the Qun, Qun. But because we do have control of the stories we tell ourselves, we can't control our feelings. Yeah, the guilt about boundaries. That's something I'm real good at.
There
That's
is something my
we can talk
therapist said
about it.
about that I
Yeah.
thought was important, and
Yeah.
he taught me to change my vocabulary on a lot of things. I used to say I can't, and he'd say you don't know how. You can. He's like, you just don't know how. So he would. I literally don't say I can't anymore. I literally say I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to.
Yeah.
Blah blah
Yeah.
blah.
Yeah.
But he said guilty is something you are, and shame is something you feel. So guilt, I always try to help people with that when, like, well, I feel really guilty right now. I was like, no, you feel shameful, and that should help you try to redefine that word and look into the meaning, and then start looking at it like you have nothing to feel shameful about because you aren't guilty of anything. You know, it kind of changes the way you approach a problem.
Shame and disappointment were the two hardest ones for me, right? Because disappointment means you're worth something as a person. To be disappointed in another person, the minute I start feeling disappointed, then I turn it in on me. Because who am I to be disappointed? I just had bad expectations, or I wasn't understanding enough, or I must have done something wrong, because who am I to be disappointed in someone? And
I thought guilt and shame were the same.
Yeah, well, these are things that everybody has a definition for guilt and shame. Guilty for feeling shameful. Yeah. Well, guilt has multiple meanings, right? Guilt and innocence in the legal system is something different than feeling guilty or feeling shame. And if I'm following Dead Guy's therapist, he's treating guilt as a cognitive thing, whereas he's treating shame as a pure feeling. And the separation there is significant because your feelings are always valid. And you can't, if you fight them, they just dig in there deeper. And so feelings, you just accept them. You acknowledge you're feeling them, you accept them. Anger is a big one. I always say to myself, I'm feeling angry. And I'm feeling angry. and I don't have to do anything about that. It's not a requirement. And that's where the guilt comes in, is that guilt is the story you're telling yourself about why you're feeling shame. And people interpose shame and guilt all the time. As long as you have the distinction between the feelings, which you can't control and happen faster than your cognitive thoughts, those are valid. Yeah. The story you tell yourself about that feeling is completely within your control. And once you get your head around that, then all of a sudden, the things like boundaries. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are walking around feeling angry right now, right? The world is angering. And people have been taught that anger is bad. Anger is an indication you're doing something wrong. But I tell people one of my inner voices is Kratos. And, he has power by rage. But what is the cautionary tale of Kratos? Well, it got out of control. And he hurt the wrong people before he learned to control his rage. And see, that's an example, Reese, of a boundary. Calling associates or acquaintances as opposed to friends. That's a boundary in your own head. And those internal and external boundaries are really important. You have boundaries just for yourself, considering someone a friend or not considering someone a friend. That's a good internal boundary. Yeah. I share that a lot. I have a much higher threshold for who I call a friend than a lot of people. And that's just because, well, we've talked a bit about what my upbringing was like. But, then you get into, when somebody feels angry, it's, well, I have to do something about that. Because anger can often mask the more vulnerable emotions, right? It can mask sadness, fear, or shame. And if you're not actually feeling what you're really feeling because you're masking it with anger, well, you never process it. And so you never get closure. And so anger is very valid on its own, but it also can mask other things because anger feels more powerful, especially for men, than feeling shame or sadness or fear. And yeah, and anger in men is one of these things that it's not seen as a good thing. I do, Manly Mondays every week on YouTube. Yeah, Manly Mondays, it was something I went into very, very hesitantly. But it's been rewarding because it's been a dialogue, right? And anger in men is one of those things. I'm being very careful. Do you notice the cognitive overload is
Speak
freely.
Men are punished for being angry. However, it's not the same as when women are angry. People don't like angry men, but it is tolerated by society and even expected of society. The way we handle an angry man is, well, okay, he might be scary, but not crazy necessarily. And then we get into the nonsense about men being default predators and all men having that, killer instinct. It's just not true. And it's my Barbie sequel in my head is the Ken movie. And getting it is literally impossible to be a man speech, because this is it, right? You're supposed to be this tough guy and be a rock and be strong, but also be sensitive and understanding. Can someone give me flashcards? Can someone please tell me when I'm supposed to be sensitive and when I'm supposed to be freaking Conan the Barbarian? Thanks. And not even Conan from the books, Conan from the Schwarzenegger movie, right? Not the same dude. It's like Geralt of Rivia from the games and the Netflix series versus Geralt of Rivia from the books. Not the same dude. Threw in Poland to see the West Germany in the chat, right? But yeah, I mean, these are the things where I did a video a while back on the purpose of the construct of masculinity and how it's something people can kind of compare and contrast themselves to, in that search for individuation, as we say, being your own person, and that having something to bounce off of the trial and yeah, that's me, that's not really me, okay, this is not me, but this is what. And this is where we get into expectations, right? Does society expect this of me, or is it really just my family? And yeah, I
Your
mean,
family's a society.
yeah, but that's the what we call global thinking, as opposed to really being accurate. I really think that being a man rocks. Yeah. Um, the thing about trauma therapy is it's control what you can control, but also, is it really everything? Is it really everyone? Or is that the part in your brain, the lizard brain, that's saying, stay down, stay in the cave, right? And usually it's not everyone. Usually it's your mom, or every woman in your past history, or problems with your dad, or an authority figure that you were supposed to be able to trust and couldn't. It's really that. And one of the things I found useful is when the gremlins start in the head. First thing I ask myself is this my voice? Is this a ghost, or is this someone now? The ghost of Christmas past, the ghost of Christmas present, the ghost of Christmas future kind of thing. Is this something I'm afraid of? Is this somebody now who's got living in my head rent free and time to evict them? Or is this a trauma flashback, via an auditory hallucination?
Or
And
it could be all of the above.
or it could be all of the above, or it could be
The
none.
Yep.
I had somebody throw in my face just this weekend saying your CPTSD is coloring your thinking or coloring your view on this. And I'm like, I'll show you some color, buddy. And that was that sort of controlled middle finger. And that was when I just went block, because at that point, that guy knew it was over the line. It was a cheap shot. And this random dude draws is getting into the idea of not comparing traumas. Yeah, it's not comparing traumas of just because something was not hard for you doesn't mean it's not very difficult for somebody else. I like to think about it in Dungeons and Dragons terms. Everybody has a dump stat. Figure out what yours is. And don't try to play according to your dump stat. Play to the thing you're good at. We do not expect fighters to be smart. We do not expect wizards to have high hit points, right?
I'm actually wearing a Dungeons and Dragons.
There you go. There you go. Nice. Oh, what?
I only saw the
Is
movie.
that? Is that a Second Ed shirt?
What is it?
Is that a Second Ed shirt?
No, the hoodie.
Yeah. No, the D&D shirt.
Oh. Yeah.
Oh, that's whose art is that?
I'm not sure.
I'm
pretty sure it might be Gygax, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
it
that's
looks pretty
going back
I'm
a
looking
ways.
at it upside down and mirrored.
Right,
it's messing
right,
with my
right.
head.
Yeah, that's classic.
But I think that's Gygax, to be honest.
Yeah, that's first edition, second edition right there. But when you build a character in Dungeons and Dragons, I'm not sure what that means, so I'm just gonna let it flow. If you build a character, you roll stats, and you want high strength and constitution for fighters. You want high wisdom for clerics. You want high intelligence for wizards. You want high charisma for bards. That kind of stuff. Life is the same way. We are never going to be good at everything. And one of the things I work with people right off the bat, and people look at me weird because they've come out of, decades of therapy and it's all about what they need to work on. And I'm like, no, I want to know what you're good at. What are you good at? What are you secure in? Because when things get tough and you start doubting yourself, we need the retreat. We need the safe room to go, I'm good at this. I'm confident in this. we're going to play to the strengths, not the weaknesses, because everybody has something. You know, a lot of people can be locked off from it, but yeah, dump stat. What's your dump stat? I mean, for me, I determined a long time ago I was going to focus on wisdom and not intelligence. I don't want to be a wizard shooting magic missiles. I want to be a cleric, because at higher levels we can summon freaking elementals and that's awesome, right? But we spend our first 5 levels casting Cure Light Wounds all the freaking time.
Yes.
Right? And you have to be prepared to wait a bit and develop those skills and stay in the back a little. I mean, clerics can use medium armor, so they can be a little further forward than wizards. But it's not... if you don't understand D&D, everybody's like, huh? About this. But the D&D player is like, yeah,
That's
I totally get
me.
this. Yeah. So it's like,
Yeah.
what are you good at? What do you like about yourself? And when you're making changes, when you're doing personal development, especially if you have trauma, that what you like about yourself has to be sacrosanct. Any change that takes you away from that is not a good change for you. Because let's face it, that's going to make the self-blame, that's going to make the shame, that's going to, make it worse. So, Bianca, being a wonderfully caring, considerate, giving person that she is, we're not going to try to take her away from that. We're not going to try to turn her into me and make her a complete hard ass. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, turn her into a fighter or a tank and send her into battle. That's not what you do. You protect the Bianca, and you let her do her
points.
Yeah. Bianca's in the back playing music, rallying everybody else, being that support class. And you got to learn to play based on what you have. And that's why "you're too sensitive" that is a banned phrase as far as I'm concerned. Because to what? Based on what? Yeah,
what's the bar, I guess? What is the bar for?
You had a strong reaction. Okay. I didn't expect you to react that strongly. Hi, Hatham. I didn't expect you to react that strongly. Also valid. Why did you have such a strong reaction? Cool. Or that was a very strong reaction. I need to take a break. Okay. But too sensitive? According to whom? If somebody's your lawyer and is breaking down in tears in court, okay, maybe not the best day right there. Fair. But sensitivity, like being aware of other people's emotions, is a skill. And again, sensitivity is, I was told my entire childhood I was too sensitive. And people think of me like that now. I'm the biggest a-hole most people know. And I am no less sensitive. I just lean into it. Like, yeah, okay, that hurt, but I'm good at being hurt, and I can handle that. And I don't have to do anything about being hurt. And knowing that hurts means I'm not going to do that to someone else, and that was the insights I got from, I hated being called too sensitive. It just, if you wanted to shut me up or knock me down, call me that. And I had to explore why, right? Like, why does this bother me so much? And I realized it was an invalidating statement. It was silencing. It was me trying to say something is hurting me, and people saying, I don't care. You're a nuisance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, pardon me for being a human being. I apologize. Don't ever apologize for having feelings.
Illegal.
And to me now, the reason I tell people something's bothering me or something hurt me is it's not, this is something people understand about me a lot. It's not looking for sympathy. It's a warning. Because if I tell you you're having a negative effect on me and you don't stop, trapdoor, garbage chute, I go full Skeletor then, like that's it. I told you, you knew this is your opportunity to give a damn and not be a jerk. And if you choose to be a jerk when it's right there, that tells me a lot about you. And now we do summon elemental, fire elemental. I've been watching the Avatar live action. Sorry, the Fire Nation is strong in my head right now. But yeah, I mean, emotions are only weakness if you think they're weakness. If you center yourself in your emotions, yep, there you go. Well, because Toxicus is big on boundaries. But yeah, that's the thing. If you just say you're hurting me, what kind of jerk uses that to twist the knife? Right? I mean, what does it say if you're afraid to tell your friends something is bothering you because you think it will be weaponized against you?
Yep.
Yeah. And there's a lot. I mean, it's interesting because especially with male socialization, but I do think there's more of this in women now than we talk about. But male socialization tends to be around common activities. And so nobody wants to be the guy that harshes the vibe, right? Nobody wants to be the guy that ruins the good time by talking about the feelings. The only acceptable talk about your feelings moment is the pub. And back in my day, it was Westerns. You know, you got to talk about, I think that's why people get so big on things like Star Wars that have that kind of Kurosawa Western vibe to them. They're not talking about Luke, Han, and Leia. They are talking about their feelings, which is why when they took the extended canon away, everybody lost their monkey nuts. You know, you took away my metaphor for my feelings, right? And I do think Batman the Animated Series was the one I used to use all the time. Who's your favorite Batman villain? And that would tell me so much about someone.
Yeah, I think so too. There's so much psychology behind those characters written by now. Like the lore and everything is built up so much.
Right? I mean, now your favorite Has-Been Hotel character says so much about you. I mean, Alistair is who I have to be. Nifty is who I want to be. You know, who's your favorite Has-Been Hotel character, Bianca?
Joseph coming and swinging with a good question too.
Yeah. Well, how do you separate a peaceful disagreement from someone deliberately stressing you out if you tell someone else that you feel bothered? Okay, let's give an example. Somebody's calling you a name that bothers you, or someone's using a phrase your father used to say right before he smacked you across the mouth, right? If the person wants a peaceable solution, they will stop using that phrase. That doesn't mean they drop your beef with you. It means they stop using that phrase. It's consideration for the person. It's showing you may not like the person right now. You may be angry at the person right now, but you still respect their dignity as a human and you care about them. Once you calm down, they're going to be important to you again, right? I loved Polka Dot Man in Suicide Squad 2. That was fantastic adaptation of that character.
Where's your mother now?
So good. So good. I love that actor too. So that I was happy about that. But that's the thing. When you say something's bothering you, it gives somebody, it's fighting fair. It gives somebody the opportunity to have an honorable conflict, right? Okay, just don't say that. I get that you're pissed at me. I get that, and I care about why you're upset. But that thing, I am gonna lose it if you say that to me again. So please don't. And what that does is it brings the temperature down out of the conflict, because if somebody's in fight mode, they're not going to sit and listen and give a damn about where you're coming from. They're in defense mode. They're looking to dodge and counter, right? If you
go for the attack, or go for the attack.
Well, yeah, if the challenge threshold rages, you know, when your cat's ears go back and the tail starts swishing back and forth, you stick your hand in front of them, they're going to bite you and it's your own fault. You know, it's the same thing. If you warn people and they push that button again, well, they had the opportunity. You gave them the choice. You gave them control to get a better outcome. And that's a gift. And if they throw that gift back in your face, well, that's on them. You know, and you didn't do anything. That was strength. You were brave enough to do that. It just gives people a chance, and you really see who the emotionally mature, emotionally regulated people are versus the people who will take what you said and needle. And the minute somebody starts doing that to me, it's like, best of luck to you. You're not my people. I am very busy. I have a very busy calendar. I choose to work with the people who have the same core values as me. And we're coming into this interesting period in mental health where values-driven healing is becoming the new trend. And I'm very, very excited about this because, it was developed in terms of recovering from psychosis. You know, people who don't necessarily know what's real. It's okay. That voice I'm hearing might not be me. So what are my values? Is this something is consistent with my values? I heard an interview with John Cena, of all people, on the Howard Stern show recently, and he was using this language. I'm like,
Howard Stern.
Dude knows the good stuff. Oh, Howard Stern does great interviews, and John Cena is a prince of a guy. But he was talking about acting in thank you, hate them, acting in accordance with your values. So if you have a choice to make, you're angry at this person. Are you going to be angry in a way that upholds your values? Or are you going to be angry in a way that's going to make you feel shame later? Your choice, right? But it's owning the choice. And that's the difference between accountability and guilt, right? Guilt is, oh my God, I feel so terrible. I feel so terrible. Have I mentioned I feel terrible? I feel so bad. I feel so bad, you guys. Why aren't you reacting to me feeling bad? Why don't you care that I feel bad? You hate me. You were never my friend. That's the shame spiral, right? I'm seeing your face. Yeah. That is how guilt rots your brain. Okay? Because if you're accountable, it's like, you're right. I did make an assumption there, and I'm sorry for that. I was upset. I felt put on the spot. You know, I didn't know what to do when I panicked. And when you do that, the other person can say, I understand why you panicked. This is the counterintuitive thing about emotional communications. If you want someone to care about your feelings, come in at a 3, not an 11. Because people do get overwhelmed with the emotional tsunami.
Interesting perspective, Joe.
What if criticism was warranted? Yeah. What would criticism be warranted? How would you separate criticism from simply taunting you if you had to be honest with yourself? Well, okay.
That's a
almost started singing a Christina Aguilera song. There is an inner voice that tells you, okay, that's fair, right? You know, and sometimes those can sting the most, right? There was one episode of Two Women Talking where Song was sick. And so I listened to the audio and I'm like, I am talking so much here, trying to cover from the fact that she was really slow on the uptake, right? And I was yada, give him the old razzle dazzle, right? Like, and I'm like, if this was the first time I'd heard this show, I would think I was such a dick. Like, one of the first 5 comments is, you're talking so much. And I was just like, you know, and it's interesting. The thing I've noticed about Cena, he actually talked about WWE outreach to China and how he's a big part of that, to the point he's learning to speak one of the Chinese dialects. So that probably has something to do with that.
Because he was speaking Mandarin.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think he's learning Mandarin. He didn't say, he just said Chinese, which he's learning. If he's learning Mandarin or Cantonese, probably Mandarin.
If he's learning Mainland, then it's got to be Mandarin. I think he's learning Mainland.
Probably, because
Wow.
But yeah, if you're learning Chinese and don't know there's different Chinese, then okay, Duolingo. But yeah, so that's part of it. Is just, if you sit and you really take a conscious moment, like take a breath before responding. If you're not sure, and you're not sure if someone is messing with you, that's when you go back to values, right? Will this change be consistent with my values? And if it's not, that doesn't mean someone is malicious. It means so it was Mandarin. Thank you. It just means
Affirmation.
they may not be the best person to consult on this one. Again, though, if you set those boundaries in the communication of like, it's just something, okay, this is hard for me to hear. It's a sensitive point. I want to hear it. Just slow down, right? Or can you be a bit gentler with this? This is kind of a raw wound here. That's one thing that will let you know whether something is in your best interest, even if it's wrong to listen to, or if it's just somebody being malicious. The other thing is timing. One of the best interviews I did on It's Not Therapy was with a sports psychologist for the Toronto Raptors.
Huh.
And he talked about the fact they do not dissect the loss right after the loss. They take time to do team building. We're good at this. We're here for it. We did our best. And then when the sense of disappointment it has decreased, then they pull it apart. Then they post-mortem it. So timing is very important in terms of compassionate criticism. I prefer compassionate criticism to legitimate criticism or fair criticism.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
Yeah.
I'm too empathetic to hit somebody with raw truth. So I usually
I
tend
can
to
do the
find
raw truth. There, going back to Has Been Hotel again, there were so many times that an Alistair line, I covered my mouth because I have said that to someone. And it's like, oh, that's what it's like to hear that from the outside. Well then, and
ouchies. Okay.
yeah, it's like I stand by it, but ow. And I mean that see again, that's something I don't want to lose that because if somebody's picking on a client and they get me, I don't mind going the final form she beast of no, I have the final boss villain, over 9,000 because it stops it. And I don't care if they like me, and that's a skill. Not everybody can tank like that. And that's again the high level cleric skills. You get some pretty decent buffs that allow you to deflect damage,
Wrestling.
Yeah, when you're learning individual moves, that is trying to train muscle memory. But when it's a big like tournament loss or something like that, it's people are not in Toxicus is ahead of me. People are not in the mindset to hear it when they are already down. Our brains
I see it.
they go into self-defense mechanisms. And so if you actually want someone to hear the criticism, you have to wait a bit until they're in a space to hear it. If you feel the need to tell them because they're making a mistake and you're prepared for them to react badly, I do this a lot because, you're just trying to be honest or you have to set a boundary. That's one thing, as long as you are prepared to accept the bad reaction. If it's something that can wait, it's probably going to be a more productive conversation. And talking to somebody about something in private, always more productive than in public.
Can be.
The minute a conflict goes public, it's probably not salvageable because then people are embarrassed and embarrassed people do unpredictable things. Oh God.
That is a terrible emotion to feel because it is a nice little cocktail of all kinds of stuff. Like your fear brain starts making up all these scenarios that may never happen. Now you're panicking to try to gain control. Oh God, oh God. And next thing you know, you're in this level of desperate.
You've got the knots. You've got the knots behind you. So I'll be speaking your language. When I am about to blow on something, I will nice Hans. Awesome. It's clean living. When I am about to blow, I will pull up the Loki Senna from Norse myth. It is the original history's first diss track. But he's blowing it up in spectacular fashion. But what happens next is he ends up bound by the entrails of his son and has snake venom dripped on his head. So it's a reminder that, yeah, if you want to blow it up and look cool for 5 minutes, prepare for the eternity of suffering afterwards. Okay, Sigan's kind of hot, but still, right? Like,
Yeah.
there are consequences to your actions. And sometimes blowing it up is absolutely the right call, but it focuses me. And I started exploring divine chaos with trauma therapy because the idea of control is, there we go. Yeah, it's a great poem. It actually is absolutely brilliant writing. But it is you look at the myth of Odin and trying to prevent Ragnarok, and he can't. And the more he tries to, the more Freya tries to, the more everybody tries to, it happens anyway. And if you are spending your entire life fearing loss, you are not living. And sometime the Ragnarok gonna happen, but it's cyclical. Okay, now we're in the age of Balder, not Odin, but so what? Right? Old
Right.
boss maybe better than old boss, maybe not as good as the new boss, maybe new boss same as the old boss. We don't know yet.
Give it time.
Yeah, all we know is that when you've got a fresh start, you can learn from past mistakes. And again, this is just stories. The older cultures were better with dealing with, and this is going to be a big swing. I apologize in advance. They were better at helping people pick themselves back up again because there was no divine Christ being that we were all comparing ourselves to. There was no concept of perfection. In the Old Testament in Judaism, there's 3 patriarchs, there's 4 matriarchs. They're all seriously messed up people. They were good people, even great people. They were not perfect people. And part of the spiritual trauma, the religion trauma, is the idea, I say, and it's not therapy, perfect is a lie. Stop trying to be perfect, because perfect is subjective. It's completely subjective. What's perfect?
It's unreachable. It's a thing that can never happen in our universe. So
what is it? Who is more perfect, an introverted person or an extroverted person? Right? It just is. Who is more perfect, a quick decision maker or a consensus builder? There's no such thing as perfect. It's a complete lie. And we have these ideals we have from time to time. I mean, right now it's, Taylor Swift, right? She's the ultimate pop star, and it's all about Taylor Swift. And of course, her dad just punched a paparazzi. And
I mean, Emilia Clarke. I think Emilia Clarke might actually be perfect, but that's, again, subjective.
Again, I mean, to me, it's Megan Thee Stallion, but that just tells you something about me. She is just, but again, they're perfect at being them. They have refined their image. I mean, Emilia Clarke almost died twice making Game of Thrones, right? Like that. And to hear her say, I didn't tell anybody because I didn't want to get fired. What is going on? If I found out that somebody who worked for me had a brain aneurysm and didn't tell me because they thought I was going to fire them, I'd probably have to check out for the weekend and rethink what I did wrong.
Maybe start applying at other jobs, shows, and movies at that point too. I'd be like,
what about?
I don't think they set up a safe environment for people to work there. They kind of put you.
What about me as a leader makes someone think I couldn't tell them that? Yeah. That would be what I was thinking, because health always comes first. But she was probably right based on that particular production. The story's coming out. Taylor Swift does Taylor Swift music.
I was going to say, the answer is yes. What music do you do? Yes.
Beyonce's doing a country album, and I'm all about that right now. Texas Hold'em is my jam. Oh my God.
That just gave me a migraine.
It's
trying
so
to put that
good.
together.
It's so good. She's going back to proto country, which is jug bands, which was Black music. She's being subversive. I love it, but it's a good song. It's up there with Lil Nas X's Old Town Road. And I'm like, yeah.
All right, look, I can accept that. I was a little scared. I was thinking this pop country crap that's been going on since the 90s. And
I came up in new country, working in Canada in the music industry. during the Shania phase. That was pretty
Right.
painful. Lovely lady, but
I'm
wasn't
sure.
my jam. I like outlaw country. Like new country is pop. And we got some beautiful ballads out of it, but it's pop music, right? What was that about?
Pretty sure it's we've gone from Taylor Swift to country. I think she might have also been a little worried, as I was, as soon as the Beyonce's
The
doing a country
Beyonce.
album. Yeah, we both kind of probably went.
Listen to Texas Hold'em. It does have definite soul, like R&B elements to it, but that's just her voice. It's gonna always sound.
Yeah.
Christina Aguilera did a country song with Blake Shelton, and it was actually pretty good. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know.
You'll heard it. If you have any country on in stores or anything like that you've been in, you will have heard this song.
Probably.
Shania's very, very nice, but that was pop music with banjos. That was not country.
It's played around me a lot. I'll say that. There's cars
Shania?
that drive by listening to it rather loudly. Country music. It's playing in some stores sometimes that I enter and then immediately leave.
I really like country, but I like all kinds of. I worked in music programming for years, so you have to find a way to like everything. So
country rap is what's played at my store.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, Taylor. Okay, you've heard. Okay, nobody's seen The Rock lip syncing "Shake It Off."
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's Taylor Swift. Yeah, that's Taylor Swift. Now that you mention it, yeah.
Feedback, or is that okay?
She does country. She does pop.
Shake it off, shake it off. You know, haters gonna hate. That's Taylor Swift.
I'm with Hans though. I'm a huge Madonna fan. Huge. Grew up with Madonna, so I'm gonna stick with Hans. We're gonna stay over here in Germany.
What era of Madonna?
Late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah. Okay.
Papa
so
Don't
before she
Preach.
would dance.
Yeah, like a virgin and all that stuff. You know that I grew up with that. Yeah, I just went Madonna for a second. I'm sorry, but there it is.
The Girly Show tour was huge in my senior year of high school, so that's dating me. So, oh geez, no,
wait, I have no choice.
Good.
Though. That's not fair to me.
Some country is good. Come on.
Bianca's got time served.
Dolly Parton, fire.
Dolly Parton is
she's
great.
done said it now.
Dolly, okay, she was the original on I Will Always Love You and Jolene. So many people have covered Dolly.
Yeah, this is true. And she's teased Lord and Savior, Dolly Parton. That's
okay. I love Dolly. I love everything about Dolly. 9 to 5 is a banger. See, that was something that went
9 to 5 is a banger. I've never heard anybody say that before in my entire life.
It's a good song. It's a good song. It's funny because one of the things we do on the Discord for It's Not Therapy is have debates like this. She is. Dolly Parton is a super underappreciated writer. Yes, that is true. We have these things on the Discord for, it's called, if you become a patron, we screen people so we know that everybody there is a real person, and the best way to do that is a credit card. But you can get an invite through one of our ambassadors. But what we do is we have these disagreements about things because a lot of people are so frightened of conflict that they won't even say when they like stuff. And so we had a whole has-been hotel brawl a while back. It was me and two of the moderators, and we were just going at each other. Like, it got real dirty where one of the mods changed his icon to Adam from Has-Been Hotel because I hate him so much. But okay, conversations taking an odd turn are my thing. Mecha Jesus, people, Mecha Jesus. It's yeah, but I mean, music's one of those things that I don't know if you saw the Grammys and the duet, the Fast Car duet.
No.
Oh, it was good because it was Tracy Chapman finally going, shut up, white boy can sing my song. Yeah, I mean, what is this thing about things being on topic? This is something that when I did like TV was always that you have to stay on topic. And I'd always come on as a comedian And so we'd have to tell jokes, but on the topic. And one of the things you do in comedy is throw a curveball, right? Like you do, like George Carlin would bring up something, Norm Macdonald would bring up something obtuse
Random.
and then tie it back in, right? And you had to follow them to get there. And they'd be like, "Oh, it's too long." It's like you can't tell conversational comedy in 15 seconds. You need 90. Yeah. Yeah, that duet was awesome. Dolly Parton is also, oh god, Dolly's invested in so many things I can't keep track anymore. She's a real humanitarian. She's done a ton of money for charity.
I just knew
Apparently
her from
she
Hannah
supports vampires.
Montana. I didn't know she was an actual celebrity until you have, the what's it called? The soundtrack, not the soundtrack, but the cheering track, not the laughing track, but the cheering track whenever a
Oh.
celebrity came in. And I'm like, who's this lady? Why are we cheering for her? She's kind of cool though. And then I'm older and I'm like, oh, that was her. She's, oh wow, she did a lot.
It's like when people discover the Golden Girls for the first time.
Also me.
The Golden Girls.
I grew up with those old ladies.
Oh my god. I have been rewatching it and that was harsh. Some of the things they
Season
said.
5, episode 1 and 2.
Yeah.
My most favorite episodes, but also the most emotional.
But they went real, but I mean, it just shows how much things have changed, right? Because people, they fought, but it wasn't like Big Bang Theory where they were just being like mean to each other. They did get nasty, but they always kind of made up at the end. It was always like, yeah, you had to say you were sorry, as opposed to, oh, that's just Sheldon. And that just shows how things have shifted. Yes, we are Golden Girls people here. Okay. I've recovered the chat. Country was a bit out of bounds. I have learned.
It's okay.
Bigger brains.
I got a fast car. Yeah.
We reined it in.
Yeah, we reined it in. It's all right. We brought it back. But yeah, talking about this stuff, it's amazing how much people share with it, because it is vulnerable to say, I have no idea what you're talking about, right? I
do it all the time.
Like, yeah, well, you hit a certain age and it's like, no.
I'm sorry, I don't even speak. What language are you speaking right now? Is this matrix code?
Canadian. It's understandable that you wouldn't understand it. Yeah. We're sort of French. We're sort of Scottish. We oot and a boot all the time. We have this thing called a double-double. Do you guys know what that is?
What?
No.
Yeah, a double-double. Okay, chat, what do you think a double-double is? Golden
you might be asking the wrong individuals this question.
Yeah, because it sounds vaguely dirty, right?
A
double-double.
I think double
like
Dutch when I hear double-double.
Double-double. There you go. Double Dutch. A Dutchie is something different in this wheelhouse of Canada. Okay.
Double, toil and trouble.
Yeah. A double-double is a coffee from Tim Hortons with 2 cream and 2 sugars. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That is a double-double.
Is their coffee good?
The dark roast is good. A 2-4.
Friday night. It does.
Yeah, a 2-4 is a case of beer. A loonie is our dollar coin. A toonie is a $2 coin. See what I mean? Canadian is its own language.
Now, question. Don't you guys sell cigarettes that have 25 and different numbers of cigarettes in the pack? Is that a thing?
Yeah. I mean, cigarettes now are practically, you have to go to a speakeasy to buy them now. It's all behind these blast doors. You go ahead and buy them.
You got some cigarettes? I got some money.
It's easier to buy weed in Canada now than it is to buy cigarettes.
That's probably good.
There are entire stores devoted to weed. You walk into the store, you are there to buy weed. But see, I do my audience about, I wanted it to backfire. Thank you, Tom. But see, it was cigarettes. You have to go in and you have to kind of whisper the what you want, a pack of Demorias, kind of thing, and they roll up this really loud, like for the thing, and you pull this, and everybody's like, it's like that scene in Leisure Suit Larry game where you're buying the condoms, right? It's just like
buying tobacco.
Of course, everybody's switched to vapes now.
That's California. My time in California, everybody was vaping. I'm like, what is this stuff you guys are putting in your faces? And they're like, it's tobacco.
I can't stand the smell of the the fruity smell of vapes, but people will go and they'll vape in the bathroom because technically it's not illegal. Like it's not strictly illegal, and they don't want to go outside when it's freezing.
I do it. I'm guilty.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Oh, do you?
Hide in the bathroom, blowing it up in the fan, like.
Yeah. Yeah. And you go in and you smell that tutti fruity smell. And it's like, because it makes me itchy when I'm bombarded with it too much. But there were meetings in entertainment, guys vaping in his office. And there's this big cloud of smoke, and they never think to do that with cigarettes. But please don't behave on my account, guys. I encourage misbehaving. It's good for your mental health.
Yeah, we didn't have that "Don't embarrass me" speech before the stream.
Flip
You
the
guys are fine.
table. Woo!
I probably have the foulest mouth here, so I'm just rating it in. Oh, I didn't ask before I came on stream what the language constraints are. So so I'm saying a-hole and jerk instead of the word I really thought.
No, you're in permission to speak freely. I thought that should have been obvious. I'm surprised they really came.
Yeah, I've been watching my language because that's the thing. It's like promoting the book. You have to remember. Oh yeah, I'm on like vanilla radio. Smoke shrapnel. That's a good term.
That's interesting.
Yeah. No, it's like smoke shrapnel to me is when somebody tosses their smoke out of car and you see the sparks going like whoa. But yeah, it's amazing how addiction technology has changed in terms of smoking, huh?
That's an interesting way you put that. The delivery system
technology.
is a whole different delivery system now. And I get into arguments because I still smoke cigarettes, I vape, I smoke a pipe, you know. I've already picked, you know, my thing. It's like, yeah, that's probably what's going to get me in the long run, but I'm okay with that. I've accepted that. Do you want to live forever? Hell no.
Yeah,
so let's move on. But it's I argue with vape people a lot because I get a lot of denial from some of these folks when I talk about it. I was like, but it's the same. You're addicted to the same chemical and the same reaction that a regular smoker is. And they're like, but this is better for you. I was like, how? It changes the habit. Now you can smoke that thing whenever you want. Like if you have a cigarette, you usually have to wait for a break. You know, a scheduled break at your job or whatever to go out and smoke. You can't just go out and smoke anytime you want.
That didn't like that in my job. They would just say, hey, I'm getting antsy. I need to smoke right now. So usually they would pop in and out a few times a day.
Not if I was the manager. They'd be, you know, at least put 2 hours of work in, you know, and do it like a break. Go like everybody else, switch everybody else out, make sure it's okay. You got to be fair. Because I had non-smokers be like, it's not fair that they get a break and we don't. So I would let the non-smokers go out.
Fair.
Take 5. You know, I'm like, it's fair. That was a good point. And I was like, it's not like some of us are taking breaks. We're pacing around, sucking that thing down as fast as we can. Other people go out to their car and start texting, smoking 3 cigarettes. It's like, all right, what are you doing? This isn't, you know. So I think that it changes the habit. So do I mind if I was, say, a manager at a job? Would I mind if somebody's dipping in the bathroom and vaping a couple times and coming back? No, probably not, as long as they're following sanitary procedures.
Right.
As far as going out and smoking a cigarette, where it's like, this could take 10 minutes, you know, like,
we don't know what inhaling vaporized heated propylene glycol does to the lungs either.
Not to mention the metal particles that are coming off.
You're inhaling metal, and metal, it's in your lungs. That's metal in your lungs. That's how the commercial stated. And I was like, whoa. And so now they have anti-vape necklaces. So if you have the habit, you grab the necklace. It kind of looks like a whistle in a way, and then you blow on it to, I don't know, prevent you trying to vape.
Really?
Yes, it's a new thing.
We had rape whistles when I was in high school. Now there are vape whistles. 1 letter change. See, addiction technology changing.
I didn't even think about that till you just said that. I was like, oh my God.
Do you remember those things?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I still have one.
Everybody just got them because they're like, this is so stupid. But just and it, you know, it totally gave the wrong impression of how sexual assault happens. It's most of it is not some creeper on the street. It's someone you know. And so what's that whistle gonna do? Like, all right, but it made people feel safer walking around at night. Only, I don't know, there's this fear culture that feels very much like control to me. And if the stuff that the various powers that be did in, you know, the 2000s and the 2010s actually worked, anxiety wouldn't be off the charts in young adults now.
Did you guys know about the backpack alarms?
Yeah.
Like as soon as you usually backpacks have like two straps, right? And then
Mhm.
one of the strap will, when it's pulled, it'll activate the alarm. I believe it was to prevent kidnapping or trafficking of some sort.
And everybody
Yeah.
just like they said, like car alarms when they first came in. Everyone just ignores the alarms because most of the time they're false alarms or somebody trying to find their car in the parking lot. You know, they hit
Backpack
the panic
problem.
button. Yeah. So the more alarms we set up, the more people ignore alarms, which is kind of a trauma metaphor as well. I
Oh,
thought this was another Alan Wake 2 reference. There's
wow.
this thing where there's all these shadows, right? And you have limited ammo, so you can't shoot every shadow. And so you're
Right.
so hyper vigilant at first, like not moving anywhere, and then you're like, "Oh, we have to go somebody," and that doesn't do it, and that doesn't, and so you become completely threat blind and deaf, and you just keep going. That's where one grabs you by the throat and slams you down. And I'm like, this is the best trauma simulator I have ever played. That's exactly what it's like. And that's a misunderstood thing as well. There are so many alarm bells going off in your head, you start ignoring them. And then it's not that you didn't see the red flags on a person. You're just like, well, I can find red flags on every person I encounter, so I have to ignore them to function.
You start filtered throughing them.
Yeah,
And your acceptance level, which that kind of goes along with your resilience thing you were talking about the other day, that
yeah,
I did relate with that a lot because you had some very good points in there. And I do think being exposed to constant, with let's just say little things, tiny conflicts between friends, or another drama between another friend, you know, you're constantly exposed to it. I do believe if you care about these people and you want the friendship to last, and you want, you know, you're going to be there for your friend. So getting exposed to those things and working through them with your friend or working through them on your own, I do believe that builds resilience. It makes you more tolerable of other issues when they come up with other friends. You know, now you've got your tolerance levels a little higher. You're not going to freak out so much. But the red flags things can get dangerous.
Yeah.
You know, like if you build up too much of a tolerance, now you're letting in a ton of dangerous people and it's exposing other groups of people to these things and it could spread, you know, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things with trauma is you need good memories. Yeah. You need good memories alongside the bad memories. What constitutes a red flag?
I think subjective this is, but also there are some standards, you know, standard civil behavior between people that.
See, yeah, I think we don't talk about yellow flags enough going to football. You know, flag on the play, like, hey, let's flag it now so something worse doesn't happen. And feedback is happening again. Is that me? No, okay.
No, it's my room is right next to the bathroom, so the fan keeps getting flipped on.
I was like, is that feedback?
Yeah, it vibrates everything on my wall is what happens.
Again, to me, the biggest red flag is I set a boundary and people don't even attempt to follow it. It's one thing if somebody tries and is clumsy about it. I greatly appreciate that because it's putting in effort, right? A really clumsy attempt I actually cherish because it was hard for them, right? And that's awesome. Sirens, great. But so if somebody makes the attempt, even if they blow it, awesome. If you say, please don't call me that, or please don't describe it that way, that not shutting down the person expressing themselves, but just eliminating something that is a legitimate trigger, that's a big red flag for me. And so we try to model, you know, silly, no, you're wrong conversations and show people that not every raised voice is danger. Not every aggressive comment is bad. Trying to show people that there is a difference between somebody just being passionate about something and, you know, the bad kind of aggression. Because you need a certain amount of aggression in the world to get anywhere.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The whole nice guys finish last thing, and that didn't just make that up. That is you can step back and step aside too often and let people take control of things and take what they need so much that you get used to that type of behavior. And now you're just the standing behind people watching it all happen person, and you don't want to get stuck there.
And one of the sorry, go ahead, Bianca.
For me.
What's that, Bianca?
I feel like over the years, none of those options have actually worked for me.
And that's fair. Did things just blow up no matter what?
Yeah. That, or if there tends to be a time where I am being more aggressive, it gets played down a little bit.
Okay.
And so I'm like, okay, so I did this for no reason, and you know, you're just walking off. And
that's what I call violating your brand. Unfortunately, nice people are punished for being nice. And that is a problem, because if a jerk is an asshole is acting like an asshole, if the guy's always a dick and he says something that's dickish, well, that's just him. But a nice person like Bianca says something, it's like, what's wrong with you? Like, all of a sudden, you're not the person people expect you to be. And that's something.
That was probably that one time I yelled at a customer because he was really talking bad about a coworker of mine of something he completely misremembered, and he does claim he misremembers a lot because of his older age, and he was calling her a bitch and saying that he's going to get her fired, and she's right next to him looking at him saying all those things, and he doesn't remember what she looks like. And then I yelled at him to the point that other customers and my employees were staring at me, and they're like, she's angry. And move away.
But that was justified anger, right? I mean, if I'd been a manager in that situation, it'd be, it's not right that they abuse the staff.
I was the manager then.
Oh, there you go. So you were allowed to yell. But people like yelling bad, that means you lost it. You know what? Some people do. And the same way, now with addiction, it's relapse as a part of recovery. They've leaned a little too into that as far as I'm concerned, but still the principles sound. But you will get angry. And if you're dealing with trauma, you will get very angry. And you can say that's valid, but you can also say, I don't want to get this angry. So what is pushing me into, because that's being triggered, right? That's not normal anger. That is losing it. And we treat that as a moral failing instead of environmental overstimulation. And thank you. I like being real. So often I'm called fake, but enough about internet chatter about me. I like being real. But we treat the tip of the iceberg as, why are you an iceberg? Get out of my face, iceberg. Instead of, okay, someone is behaving uncharacteristically, something must be really wrong. And that's where being sensitive really benefits you, because if you can show that, what we call cognitive empathy, perspective taking, putting yourself in the other person's there you go, putting yourself in the other person's place and going, okay, this isn't someone prone to blowing up, so something's really wrong here. The button pushing is a red flag.
That's a big red flag.
It's a red flag because they know what they're trying to do. The playbook here, the profiling, which you're not supposed to do, but I'm going to do it anyway, because this is an example. This is not talking about an individual person, but they're pushing your buttons because they want to create a false equivalency between what they did and your reaction. So if you blow up, it's all about your reaction, not about what got you there. And that is a systemic problem in your social environment. And look at Dead Guy smirking about this. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Didn't mean to. I'm not psychic, I swear.
The button pushing seems to happen at work a lot. Seems to be a work culture type of thing.
By colleagues or by customers?
Both.
I was going to say, I
what,
think it's a people thing. I think it's a people thing nowadays, Bianca. It's not.
Customers will do it because they're taking out their bad day on you. And that is the unfortunate thing about retail. I do think that retail has to get better at not allowing. There's an angry customer. You know, if you just get a $4,000 bill for being treated by dehydration by your healthcare company, you're going to be angry when you call, of course, right? If somebody's upset because you don't have their regular brand of cat food and they lose it, that's a very different thing, right?
All the time.
Yeah, there are understandable things and then there are not understandable things. And I do think people bully because it works. And the only way to combat that is to create environments where bullying is not tolerated.
Wouldn't we have to get rid of the customer is always right slogan for that?
Well, yeah, I mean, some companies are getting rid of that. With the internet, a lot of, you know, those reward tracker cards and all of that stuff, they know, especially when you're spending a lot of money on things, they know who the good customers are and who the not good customers are. Okay. Advice on hardcore two-faced people that follow every rule to be sure when they fuck you up, screw with you. Oh, I call this the nice game. I actually have a name for this, that the nice game is the object of the game is to force the other person into being not nice. And the first person to not be nice loses, right? And that's when the self-talk is really, really important, right? Because you know the person's two-faced. You know they are this. First of all, when someone shows you who they are, believe them. I know that's an overused Maya Angelou quote, but it is when you realize the first time someone gossips to me about someone, not because, hey, I've got this problem or, hey, I need something. It's, did you hear what they said? Like the minute someone starts talking shit, I assume they're talking shit about someone else. They're talking shit about me too. I have very rarely been wrong about that. So the minute someone shows them that they're two-faced, believe them. Know anything you say. It's like whenever you're putting something in a chat or an email, this is in writing. Be sure to stand by it, right? And that is all it.
Yep.
If you run a clean race, eventually they will get caught. And rules, hi David. Rules go both ways. You know, there is probably an HR there's probably an HR department or some higher power there, but document everything with a two-faced person. There were some people who I will not talk to, not in text, because I need a record of everything. And
Kitty,
did she move finally? Oh, is she going after Grundy? No, false alarm.
Born on a Monday.
Yeah.
Knocked off a shelf on a Tuesday.
That was Zelda. You notice Zelda's behind Cthulhu. They have things in common. Yeah. She's behind Cthulhu and the Mario mushroom. I like to live dangerously. But yeah, that when you're dealing with a two-faced person, and you will at work, dealt with my fair share in the entertainment industry. It really, again, it's the values thing. Are you acting in a way that you're proud of at the end of the day? And when you make it about that and not about that two-faced so-and-so who you'd really love to strangle into a pit of acid,
that's pretty specific.
Well, I like to be very evocative in the things I like to do to my enemies because I feel it. And so I get it out and then it's gone, and instead of doing the Sith thing of let the hate flow through, I'm going to be really creative in it because then I'm engaging that active task part of my brain and I give myself a bit of a giggle because yes, that was very specific. But, if I'm going to act like a psycho, I want to be a creative psycho.
Exactly. I have the terrible thoughts, like through my trauma response and through the PTSD that I've suffered and the cocktail of crippling disorders that comes with. I've learned through a lot of reactions, that's my trauma response.
Yep.
Is to go take the psychotic thought that I just had for a second, because it's my initial go for the jugular, end the problem now, immediately walk away.
Fight
And
or flight is
make
actually,
jokes and
yeah.
turn it into something funny and share it with my friends. You know, maybe people that might be in an inner circle and understand the inside joke, share it there. And I feel like just laughing about it, it does, I hate saying power, because they are just words. You know what I mean? So
But still,
I hate
it's
saying
the idea behind the words.
it takes it away from it. And now you've taken something that probably put you in a terrible place emotionally, made you experience all these things, made you remember things you probably didn't want to remember, all that kind of stuff. And it can turn it around, and within an hour, 2 hours, you and your friends are laughing about it. I think it really helps to get past things, and helps, but I know that's subjective. Not everybody responds that way, but for me, that I kind of related when you said, you know, I have this and it's what I want to go to. We all have to stop and rearrange exactly what we were going to say. We can't just go right off. But with me, I try to turn it into jokes and share it with people. You know, share that humor, share that trauma with people, and not keep it inside, and let people know this is my response.
One of the things that one of the reasons I decided to talk about the absolutely horrendous shit that has happened to me again and again and again, that yeah, never say anything that, well, one friend of mine is taking out of context things I say. I said this earlier. I'm putting into motivational phrases on Instagram because it's hilarious. So I'm not therapy show on Instagram. You can look at some of them and try to figure out exactly what the context was for some of them. But one of the reasons I'm so open about the things that have happened to me is because I want people to know you're not going to scare me. I'm not going to be horrified. I've had some pretty rough stuff happen, and you have to talk about it. Again, it's that foil on the back of the fridge shame thing, right? When you feel silenced, that makes you feel like you have something to be ashamed of, even though you try to tell yourself you don't. You know, and
you're just burying it.
Yeah,
you're just burying it.
I just don't care about the nasty things people say. Like, they'll be up, you know, all right, good shot. Like, let's go. I'm at the point where somebody does something absolutely horrific. It's like, oh, that's a new low. Cool. You know, and I will be, what do they say if I do this? And what if I say if I do this? Because please don't do that, Reese.
Reese, dude, I'm telling you right now, it took me a few therapy sessions and going through some people till I found somebody I really clicked with. And it was a dude, believe that or not. I usually feel more comfortable talking to women. And I talked with this guy, and he showed me some things. Like, he didn't do it in a way that made me feel like I was a broken person or that there was something wrong with me. He kind of led me to the door and then had me open it. And then at that point, I started learning new ways to just deal with stuff. Like, I think ever since then, my temper, me going off on my temper is exponentially increased. Like the tolerance that I can have with people in certain scenarios. Yes, there are scenarios where you have a pile up situation that somebody wasn't aware of. There's
everybody has limits.
Yeah, I'm human, you know, but it has helped me tremendously. And man, we as dudes have a responsibility too, to talk about our feels and get them out there and learn how to cope with certain things and deal with situations better. And I think a lot of us are bad at that.
I'd amend that. You said a responsibility. I say you deserve to be able to talk about your feelings, right? You deserve to be seen. You deserve to be known. And, you know, we talk about disposable male syndrome, and we talk about, you know, having to die on your white horse. And I'm more partial to black horses. I always have been. And the only good pure white horse is the one that Death rides while he's speaking in all caps in Terry Pratchett, second Terry Pratchett Discworld reference for the stream. But yeah, you deserve to talk about your feelings, not out of obligation, not out of duty, because you are a freaking person and you matter. And if little things like that's one of the things I do, is that little affirmations of I deserve this. You know, we had the whole affirmational marketing with Clairol, and I think starting in the 90s, because you're worth it hair dye ad. So women have been marketed to for years with this stuff, but men are all about buy the sports car to attract women, buy the thing, wear the suit, do the thing for a purpose, right?
Have the money.
To get something. It's all signifiers instead of I'm going to buy. I mean, when I first started making money when I was on TV, I bought every toy I couldn't afford as a kid or wasn't allowed as a kid. Hence,
Yeah.
and there's stuff all the He-Man stuff's not there. The Thundercat stuff is packed up because the series 3 one's Freckle in the cat's lair is over there. But I was just like, I'm going to do this. Why? Because I want to. Because it's reclaiming that constant sense of pushing my nose against the glass, staring into this window with this world I could see on TV and never have. And now it's like, wow, that was a lot of money and I have no place to put it. And maybe I should sell some of it. And every so often, I used to buy these big eBay lots. So this friend of mine, it's called Go Figure. He does vintage toy Instagram stuff. And his Christmas gift one year was I took all the random leftover parts. So like weapons and pieces and little bit. And I put them in this it was this big, right? And I put them in, and that was his Christmas gift. It was all just pieces. It must have been 2 hours with him going, and he knew everyone. He knew the Ninja Turtle stuff, and there was actually a real Ghostbusters piece that he was looking for. Yeah.
Whoa.
But this all comes from, I can relate to this because this all came from me going after Scareglow's halberd from the Masters of the Universe. I wanted a complete Scareglow. And so in the new Masters of the Universe cartoons, they've got the glow in the dark halberd. It's like, I feel seen by that because the figure itself is not worth much unless it's complete. The minute you have that halberd, it's worth a lot more. So I spent less money than just buying a complete figure, getting all this extra stuff because it's like a $10 lot, a $25 lot, a $30 lot. That one was, I think, $65, but even that wasn't worth that one halberd.
Whoa. Okay. I think
these really make you realize how subjective value of things is.
Yep.
And when we talk about attachments, this is what the Buddhist and the Jedi talk about. It is not never marrying. It is not never falling in love. Healthy love is very good, even though it attacked the clones. We're supposed to fall in love. And then they don't follow that at all. No Mara Jade, still mad. But the idea of you can love someone and not get attached, right? You're not going to go against your values. Yeah. They're not a possession and you're not going to go against your values. You're not going to do anything for that person because a person who truly loves you won't want you to. And that's another thing to think about. If you are feeling bottled up, if you are feeling like you can't speak, would you want someone you care about to feel that way? And would you want to be the cause of that feeling? Well, if you don't, think about whether the people around you are maybe not helping you, or are you putting an artificial barrier up between you and the people around you? Again, you're not giving them a chance to be there for you. And that is a big thing that trauma survivors do. There's a guy on Twitter named Glenn Patrick Doyle, who does great stuff. His website's called Use Your Damn Skills. I think he really puts it in a gut punch kind of way that I just love because it isn't, it isn't touchy-feely pastel butterflies. When I was doing a piece back in the day in my games journalist days, I did a multi-part series on video game technology and trauma. And one of the things they were doing with war veterans was prolonged exposure therapy with VR, including smells. And yeah, they weren't pleasant smells, right? But it was able to talk about it because words can often leave us, when we're having difficult things. But if it's there and you can describe, okay, there was a red car over there, you're both present in the memory, but still connected to the present at the same time, because you're telling other people what to do. Right. And that is the whole thing about the difference between, like I said earlier, PTS and PTSD. PTS, I am in control. The minute I'm not out of control anymore, I'm not present, I'm not regulated, then that's the D. That's the disorder. We all experience trauma in some way. We all experience a spectrum of all the big Ds, right? Not the double, the what we call personality disorders, which I don't like. Trauma, PTSD is not that, but BPD, NPD, AVPD,
What's
the
NPD?
coolest one, and NPD, narcissistic personality disorder. A lot of people get labeled as narcissists, and they're not, clinical narcissists. There are others, avoidant personality disorder is one that sounds really cool. Alien versus predator disease, AVPD, because APD is something different. Oppositional defiant disorder, all these things. We all have shades of things we're a little arrogant in, things we're a little explosive in. We all have issues with authority in some places. It's when they start wrecking our lives, when it's a disorder, and we have so weaponized therapy language that it's not useful anymore. Yeah, that surviving somebody who is, if somebody has BPD, borderline personality disorder, and they are in therapy and they are responsible about their condition, they're great people, right?
Yeah.
It's
intense people, to be honest with you.
Very intense people. Yeah, and very intelligent people a lot of the time. It's the ones that are still, unregulated or dysregulated, who can't admit yet that there is a problem. They're on the nervous system level and they're not owning it. That, any of the access to conditions, or even something like OCD, which is axis C, I believe, but it's not a personality disorder, but it can wreck your life.
Isn't it considered a behavioral disorder?
Yeah, OCD is a rough one because it can be comorbid with so many conditions, and the things you do for OCD trip something else.
Yeah, it becomes your coping mechanism through things, and good Lord.
But again, OCD is one of those ones where somebody's a little fastidious and like, I'm so OCD. Please don't do that. It really bothers people because it's miserable, right? It is your brain hiccuping and rebelling on you. And I do think that if we all had more compassion, if we all took that positive ego, in the sense that we own the parts of our personality that are constructed, then we can be more compassionate to people who are struggling, and we are able to more accurately predict why people are doing what we're doing. Because a lot of the mistakes we make in assuming intentions is something called a heuristic. We eliminate a bunch of possibilities as a shorthand, because if we had to actively consider everything in a day, our brains would explode. We'd go into cognitive overload, like we'd shut right down. So we do a lot of shortcuts. And with people, with communication, people assume motivations because that's always been what it's meant, right? But when you come to a new person, my rule of thumb is, say, and it's not therapy, listen twice before you talk once. So if somebody says something to me and it hits me the wrong way, I'm like, okay, what did they say? What did they really say? Try to recall what they said. And sometimes I'll go, okay, if I understand you here, this is what you're saying. And that gives the person to go, yes, or not quite. That's the second listen, right?
That came out wrong.
Yeah. Or I don't mean that. Or no, not quite. Like it could be the person said it wrong. It could be I misheard, because I was in my feelings at that moment. And that's a great little trick to slow it down, to give that, oh my God, ow, 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 ow response, time to do its thing. you know, but also react, because if you react to what you're afraid somebody meant or what you're afraid it means, you can seem like an absolute lunatic, and the other person is going, "What just happened?" Right?
Yeah.
And
You're
we've all
you're
been on.
trying to get ahead of something that doesn't even
Yeah.
exist,
Yeah,
and you can
and
screw it up really bad. Yeah.
and even if they are criticizing you in that moment, even if it is what you think it is, this is what they teach you to do in TV if you need a moment to think, right? You repeat the question like, right, why did I do that? Yeah, that's a really interesting question. So what you're asking, it gives you time to think, right? Without dead air. You're not just sitting there like,
That initial jolt of electricity you just got and the panic deer in the headlights that some people don't even pick up on. If you got a good charisma, you're in there panicking
or
and sweating. That cold sweat hits you, but your face is going,
see, my problem is I'm a ginger, so if my face flushes, everybody knows. Like, suddenly it's just and I have an autoimmune disease, so when I'm symptomatic, I have to tell everybody, "Okay, guys, I'm having a lupus rash day." I
oh,
have to do
okay.
this when I'm lecturing at universities. I'll say, "If I suddenly go, like, red-faced, it's because I'm really happy and excited to be here, not because I'm dying," and they all kinda laugh, and I just don't, the foundation starts melting, and then it gets patchy and uglier. So it's like I'm just gonna define the thing that's gonna make everybody real awkward, because let's face it, awkwardness, creepiness, it's because people don't know what's going on. So the more information you give somebody, the less likely you to be misinterpreted. And then you know that if somebody does take what you say the wrong way, you did everything possible, and you have the opportunity to better assess whether someone is coming at you in good faith or they're just trying to steamroll you with words, you know?
I've had that happen more often lately since I've been, traveling the sea of YouTube. The more I try to interact with some people, the more I'm getting like that type
If,
of thing, and I'm like,
if,
oh,
if you get a bad comment, dramatic reads are the best cope ever.
re-
Oh,
clever.
if
That is clever.
read it like a pirate. Like, Army Hearties, you have no idea what you're talking about here. You are clearly stupid. Like, you arse face. Like, just read it in the dumbest voice you can possibly think of, because then the thing about YouTube comments that go totally off the chain is, congratulations, you made somebody had a feeling, you know? And I I have this, are you not entertained reaction when someone totally puts words in my mouth. I'm like, yes, this is the shit I live for, right? Cuz I've had the head of pediatric psychiatry departments do this to me, man. You are nothing. Bring it, right? Like, I want to compare notes to the guy with the PhD. Are you worthy? And like I said, coping with humor, but I also did stand up, right? And so
Oh
that dealing
God.
with the heckler impulse, that is it's good training, but the worst is when you're around a bunch of guys that can't laugh at jokes anymore. And so they actually, when you say something funny, they go, "That's funny," instead of laughing.
That's hilarious.
It feels like, those stories where everybody's had their emotions taken away from them, and so they're all like, everything is, it's like the whole room became Zoloft zombies all of a sudden. That's funny. Or the people that go lol instead of laughing, right? Because laughing gives us an endorphin response, gives us those good brain chemicals. Laughing
Yeah.
actually has something, right? Whereas that's funny, that's separating themselves because they're so mad that you said something entertaining and they didn't, that they're plotting your demise.
I hate it.
And yeah, it was a good, I don't regret any experience I've regretted some of my reactions to them, but even the worst things that have happened to me, I take as a great badge of pride that I've found a way to use them to inform, give people a little twist on it. Like, I've made the mistakes so other people don't have to. And I'm not saying that the things that gave me trauma are the best things that ever happened to me. No, I wouldn't wish this shit on my worst enemy. And you've heard what I wish on my enemies, right? Like strangulation into acid. I go
Yeah,
there.
that's
But
pretty bad.
but I do take pride in the fact that I am able to use the skills, to use what I'm good at, to make it into a thing. It's like emotional compost, right? You put all the shit in there, all
Yeah.
the scraps, all the rotting crap, and eventually you'll get fertile soil if you till it enough.
I like
You
that.
know?
That's a good metaphor.
Yeah,
I'm
and that
a- I'm a
doesn't
plant
mean
guy. That's a good
that doesn't
metaphor.
mean everybody has to do it, and it doesn't mean that you can't get angry at the people that fucked you over. You have to get angry.
Yeah, get mad.
You have
You're-
to feel those
You're
feelings.
human, and the one thing to try to deny yourself is the sheer fact that we are emotional creatures. First and foremost, before anything else, we react emotionally.
An
Like, that is
hour
the period into story.
at 6 tonight, so an hour and 3/4 from now, I'm on Twitch. So
Okay.
you will get my anger there. I rage when I play. I like playing really hard games, and I like really raging, and it's very
Okay.
entertaining because I create inventive chains of swears, and I'm playing Jedi Fallen Order right now, which is Star
All
Wars
right.
Chronicles, and I cranked it up to the hard difficulty for the authentic experience. So if people think I'm real chill and have my shit together right now, I am.
We will take
offering
some clips
the
and I will splice
opportunity to
them in. Yeah.
experience the hot mess. Yeah.
I'm gonna take some edits, and we're gonna go from you talking really calm and reacting
Yeah.
rationally, and then splicing into you with these creative chains of curse words.
To me, the gaming is my processing time, right? Because it is a safe place to yell at the screen. But then when you're just doing the grindy stuff, it's like, okay, let's work through this loopy thought that won't go away. What's it trying to tell me?
Okay.
A
Interesting.
thought can only intrude if there's no space to let it in.
That's I like that. I haven't thought about it that way. So if you fill it up with other things, it'll find somewhere else to go. That's interesting. I like that. Well, guys, this went way longer than I intended, and I'm actually grateful because this has been a wonderful sort of little bit all over the place. But I hope that some of you guys got some interesting things to walk away with, to think about in the future, or to take in, or to possibly apply to any current situation that you might be in. And I believe the link to Liana's, I thought I posted.
It is pinned.
Okay, cool. Then you guys that aren't subbed, hit her up, especially you, Sassy. She's got great videos all throughout the week. I think you would actually thoroughly enjoy. So definitely subscribe to Liana and check her out.
Wellness
Do you have anything
Wednesdays.
coming up?
Mecha Jesus and Other Stories. The official launch is on Thursday. You can get it anywhere. There's a books to read link but it's books2read.com/mecha-Jesus. Mecha Jesus Googles really well. So I'm really trying to push that. It's Not Therapy, the podcast. Please subscribe to that too. It is always rewarding to get a comment, like get a message out of the blue from somebody I haven't heard from in years, where I started listening to this podcast and I'm like, shit, people I know are listening to this. It's always a bit like, is my family going to hear this? And I have this moment, and then I'm like, you know what? Everything I'm saying is true. So if they can't cope, that's on them. This is my journey. This is my story. And I can't fight anybody's fight for them. That's why I say be the hero of your own story and not anyone else's. Because if you try to be the hero in other people's stories, you end up the villain.
Yes, you do. That I can vouch for. I mean, through experience. Oh, cool. She subbed. You got a new person. I think of all people in the chat, you will thoroughly enjoy.
Awesome.
I think T probably hit you up with a sub too. Everybody else is already subbed to you.
Yeah,
I'm
I recognize
fairly
the
sure of
name.
that.
So thanks for
Fairly
the
sure of that.
support, guys.
I
Yeah,
tell you
yeah,
what,
yeah.
for that book release, I will grab a link from you, and
Yeah.
I'll make a post about it.
Yeah,
That way, my people can see it on my
it's
side too.
yeah, it's in the chat right now, but I'll email it to you as well. It's
Cool,
like
cool.
everywhere you get books, and yeah, we're gonna have a good time. We're fighting with the venue right now, but it'll sort out. It's gonna be fun. There's gonna be cake, and then and with this book, both of the literal and the hot waitress variety, there will be cake. But yeah, I really am trying to support your local indie comics artist, comics writer, game dev, author, small. We can't complain about the content they put out if we don't support the good stuff. So, I just like doing what I can for this stuff. And thank you guys for letting me take up your time and be absolutely insane with my bizarre background in cat.
No, I really appreciate it. This has been a really fun conversation. I kind of called that from the get-go. Bianca, do you have anything coming up that you'd like to share with us?
Not until what I have scheduled in March for another interview.
Okay, well, that's actually not that far off.
Nah, it is the only one that's scheduled. Anything else I do is always unscheduled.
This is true. And who do you have scheduled in March?
The creator of Dime Detectives.
Oh, okay, cool.
John
Yes.
Dexter.
Yes, I just got an update from his Kickstarter, and
that Alpha Dogs. Woo, dogs with powers.
Okay, cool. Oh, the superhero dog team. I remember. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll be there. I'll be there for sure.
Wait,
well, guys, thank you.
Was that the one in the apocalypse, or was that the one? Which superhero dog team was this? I would love to come back in future.
Absolutely, random. Absolutely. I'm gonna try to do one once a week when I can. And
when we drop,
not actually like the stereotypical superhero team. It's literally just regular dogs that have like rather strength or speed or whatever. And honestly, I didn't even read it yet, but I see him just like protecting somebody.
Face dog.
Yes.
Oh,
I mean, it looked pretty cool. It looked pretty cool, and it looked like something that kids could get into. So,
yeah,
and
the
that's
art is
something
awesome.
I think it's rare nowadays that people make comics for kids anyway.
No kidding. But yeah, I'll have to come back on when the demo drops for the game, which hopefully will be in the next couple of months. So that'll be fun. Yeah,
definitely, I actually remembered on
Fingers
there.
crossed.
I didn't have enough money to get a copy of the game or anything, but I was able to have a petable creature on there.
Yeah. Where we, for the Kickstarter for seed money, because we're doing this all on our own, we let people buy their way into being an NPC. And halfway through, people were like, but does it have to be a person? We're like, no, you can have pets too. And you can have a person and a pet. And we got bombarded with pets.
I can't wait to see mine. Oh, I'm so
happy. That's cool.
We actually had to create a pet generator tool to get through them all. So nice problem to have.
Thank you. I've got the samurai knot going on.
Oh, that's what they're talking about. Okay, awesome.
Yeah, I guess it's been a while since I've been live. My hair's a lot longer than it was.
This was a lot of fun and chat. You were awesome. Really good experience.
These are my people. I love my people.
Yeah.
I'm building a very good community, and I feel safe here. And I hope that you guys do too.
Really insightful, vulnerable questions, and I really, really appreciate that, because when people take the risk, when people take the risk to ask those vulnerable questions, they get more out of these streams. So that's really
she said that as I was writing it.
Yeah, I was like, whoa, hive mind. It's like,
jinx, bitches, and then I end the stream. Everybody's just stuck there for the rest of the day in the middle of the gym.
Do we just start saying random stuff now so you can end the stream?
Like, I kind of was. I told everybody how I end the stream mid-sentence. I mean, I should have done it when I asked you what you had coming up, but I kind of missed my opportunity there, and I didn't want to cut you off anyway. That's kind of mean.
I can show all the weird toys that I have.
Armin.
Yeah, I got Armin. I got Gossamer. I got Snoopy. Part of
Snoopy?
this is
How's
Snoopy
that
in a
even a
boat.
toy?
This is old. This is a
It was
McDonald's toy
the single
from
most unfun toy ever made was a Snoopy toy.
but he jiggles like dumps like a truck. What you know?